this incredible meeting. So welcome everybody, welcome this Tuesday evening. And all I can say is you guys are in for a treat with my good friend and business partner here, Kellie Lupsha. I've had the pleasure and honor of working next to her and her husband Arthur now for the last 3.5 years. And they've become some of my closest friends in this business. And they are both truly passionate about prevention and helping people deal with neurological issues. They're physical therapists. So I'm going to read you guys Kellie's bio because I don't want to miss anything out that's important. And she's had a lot of accomplishments. So as we're getting into this webinar, you guys, tonight, I want to start this webinar by saying, putting a disclaimer out there and letting you guys know that these statements are not meant to cure, treat, prevent, or mitigate disease in any way. Our body is the miracle, and the information we're going to be discussing tonight is a medical breakthrough. We know that we're onto something huge within the health and wellness arena, so you guys are at the right place at the right time. So a little bit about this beautiful lady on with us tonight in this webinar. Kellie Lupsha is a neurophysical therapist, and she studied at the University of Arizona. She got her bachelor's degree there. And then she went to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, and got her master's in physical therapy. She specializes specifically in the recovery and treatment of neurological disorders, traumatic brain injury, and stroke, and has been doing this for over 20 years, her and her husband both. They own a private practice here in Southern California, a very, very successful private practice. And you know, she travels also. This is what I love about Kellie, is that she's passionate about educating and teaching others. So her and her husband travel throughout the United States and train other physical therapists in all that they do, because it is so incredible and amazing. And she has a huge passion for wellness and helping people prevent neurological disorders. And this is what this is all about, guys, prevention at its finest. So Kellie, welcome.
Thank you so much, Jenny. It's an absolute pleasure to be on with you. Just, again, mentor, leader, amazing person. So I'm privileged.
We're blessed to have you. So Kellie, will you just start off by telling us this evening, you know, you've been doing this specifically in your practice for over 20 years. You know every therapy regarding the brain, and neurologically, you've seen therapies, medications, supplements. Will you just start off by telling us why you decided to incorporate LifeVantage's products, specifically Protandim Nrf1 and Nrf2, into your practice? And really, I know that you've probably been shown everything on the planet. And that's what I love about your story is, you know, as physical therapists dealing with people coming in and out of your office, why specifically did you decide to utilize this in your therapies?
Absolutely. And, you know, Jenny, a physical therapist, they really are very traditional and conventional, and very much like our medical model today, not really looking very outside the box, which you'd kind of think physical therapy would be, but we're really based on protocols, and doctors give us orders and we follow certain things. And, you know, it's one of the reasons I initially went into private practice is what I learned in the treatment technique I use called Nrf2. My mentor was very out of the box. And so I needed to break out of the traditional medical model to kind of fit the needs of stroke and brain injury patients. And that's how we've been really successful. But within our practice, I realized that as a therapist, like my handling and my interactions with these people with brain injuries and strokes, I always wish, like, I just wish I had something extra to access the brain, to allow the brain permission for me to recover them faster and better. Never know what that, I didn't know what it was or how it would come to me, but I always like wish I could, like, what can I do to help this brain heal so that whatever I'm doing with them improves at a faster rate. So yes, you are right. As many people have brought things to us over the, you know, course of time, and never really, you know, things could be good. I just wasn't sure. And owning my own private practice, it was like, well, you know, if it doesn't really have research backed by PubMed, which is the National Institute of Health, a lot of times companies do their own research and they say, we have research. And some of those products might be really great, but I couldn't risk, you know, putting it into my practice because they didn't have that official research by the National Institute of Health. And so when this was brought to me about 4 years ago, I was quite intrigued immediately when I started seeing that it was decreasing inflammation, and I knew that with a stroke or traumatic brain injury, wow, my patients coming to me have an increase of inflammation in their brain. So I was thinking, like bells were going off, because I watched, I don't know, hopefully those of you on this have seen an ABC News report, and it showed that by taking our flagship product Protandim, it decreases your oxidative stress by an average of 40% in 30 days and up to 70% in 120 days. And along with that, it also upregulates glutathione and catalase and superoxide dismutase. And these were all the things that I knew could fuel the brain and help the healing process. So I'm like, okay, I didn't really know what I was looking for or how it would ever come to me. But when my husband and I saw this, and at the time this was truly Nrf2 activation, we thought, well, our family could use this. And I think our patients could use this. And I do believe having a multiple levels of modalities for patients to have, it's going to allow their healing, because it's not going to be just one thing.
Exactly.
Truly.
So let's talk a little bit more about the science of Nrf2 activation and Nrf1 activation specifically regarding neurological issues. You know, I know we're talking specifically stroke, traumatic brain injury, but there's so much encompassing neurological disorders, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, all of these different things that affect the brain, not only with aging, but with issues like traumatic brain injury. You know, somebody's in a car accident and, you know, the unthinkable happens. Let's talk specifically science and why, as a physical therapist that knows about everything out there, why is this so unique and why is it so important?
Yes. And, you know, I'm not going to get into the like hardcore nitty gritty science, you guys, but I want, you know, this is new to many people in the medical field. And those of you that have been following kind of functional medicine, this is really following how do we understand the root cause of disease? And that's what functional medicine is, you know, really looking at. And so that's where I'm going to take you is when Jenny talks about neurological diseases, I want you guys to understand the spectrum of that. So it's not just a stroke, just Parkinson's. Neurological diseases are anything from a child that's on the spectrum and maybe has some ADD, ADHD, autism, sensory disorder, to somebody who has some autoimmune issues and maybe fibromyalgia, maybe chronic fatigue, maybe somebody that has gut issues, leaky gut, irritable bowel, and I'm going to connect all this for you, you guys, to all the way maybe somebody that has just a concussion or something more dramatic like a traumatic brain injury or a stroke, even like cancer, right? Because that's a brain tumor. It's interfering with the brain. And again, Parkinson's, Lou Gehrig's, muscular dystrophy, it goes on and on. So neurological diseases are like this, you know, radar of so many different things. And everyone, you know, you guys might think when we're talking about neurological, you think of brain, right? And that's what we're talking about. But let me tell you this, the tissue initially, when we are created, okay, some of the neural tissue that forms the brain is the same exact tissue that's formed in our gut. And so that's why, hopefully, you've been hearing out there, you know, in the media, in the science, things most of you guys are reading out there, why gut health is important, because there is a superhighway between the gut and the brain and the gut. So therefore, the science is now revealing that if somebody has a little bit of inflammation, and a little bit of inflammation could be, you know, because I've had tons and tons of antibiotics in my lifetime, and all those antibiotics lead to a little tiny bit of leaky gut, which now leads me chemically to a little bit of brain fog issue, and I'm not functioning on all cylinders. And now, heaven forbid, Kelly is in a car accident and ends up with a traumatic brain injury. Well, the symptoms I may get may be worse because I already had inflammation in my brain versus somebody that was eating clean, had a clean gut, was taking their probiotics, was taking their omegas for brain health. That person that maybe got hit in the same intensity of their car accident could walk away with few to little symptoms. So I've gotten really passionate about this prevention of science because it's how our inside of our health is that when anything happens to us, how our body is going to respond to that insult. Maybe we end up with a stroke later in life. Maybe we do develop something, but that health is critical. So let me dive into some detailed science that Jenny was asking you guys. So let me start briefly with Nrf2. So protandem Nrf2, when we talk about Nrf2, it is Nrf2. And Washington State University, I say that because people think Nerf, like a Nerf football, like Nerf what? So it's the initials Nrf2. And it's a protein that is found in our body. And what I want you guys to understand is Washington State University published a study just out a couple years ago now, concluding that this Nrf2 activation in the body, it's so important that it may well be the biggest breakthrough in the history of preventative medicine. And here's why. We all naturally have this Nrf2 activation happening in our body. And as we start to age, which unfortunately, right, we're all aging, and some of us at different rates inside cellularly. But as we age, the function that happens to release this Nrf2 starts to diminish. And when we talk about releasing this Nrf2 activation, that basically triggers the body's natural antioxidant response to trigger our own natural antioxidants. And I think those of you on, right, like probably all agree, you've heard of an antioxidant, you know antioxidants are good for us, we're supposed to take them. And you guys, we should still be eating our blueberries, our kale, our rainbow of colors on our plate of food, right? Super, super important for us. But by eating all of these antioxidants, they're fighting off free radicals or the damage that our bodies are getting. And can you guys not agree that we can't protect ourselves enough? We walk outside for the day, we pick up our cell phone. It's EMS, it's pollution, herbicides, pesticides. I know most of us out there are trying to eat healthy, trying to eat clean, trying to not have pesticides, our GMOs. But honestly, just the environment, the sun, the pollute, everything around us, our detergents, I mean, anything, you name it. We can't get away from being bombarded with things that are harmful to our body. So therefore, just eating alone, even though nutrition is very important, okay, I'll totally reiterate that. I'm not a nutritionist, but I know it is very important. We need more. It can't be enough. And so this Nrf2 activation, by it upregulating our own body's natural antioxidant defense system. So those were the things I mentioned before. Again, you don't need to know all this, but you just need to know that catalase, superoxide dismutase, and it's kind of like the holy grail is glutathione. Glutathione is known as the master antioxidant of our body. We need that upregulated. So by taking that Nrf2 and upregulating that, one, if somebody has any sort of neurological disease, it's going to help them fight off that damage at a much, much, much greater rate. And if you don't have anything that you know of right now, I mean, we all have something, we just don't know it right now. And you don't want to wait until you know it. That's the difficulty, you guys. So we want to upregulate that process to the highest possibility to prevent our bodies from incurring these things, whether it be Alzheimer's, dementia, whether it be, migraines, fibromyalgia, learning disorders. I mean, you name it, they're all on the different spectrum of neurological disorders, which I truly need people to understand. The Nrf1 activation, let me go into this, I don't know if any of you have seen or heard of Dr. Mark Hyman,
yes,
or watch part of the Broken Brain series. He now even has a podcast. So those of you that missed the Broken Brain documentary on television can actually, go to the podcast. It's called Broken Brain. And each week they put out a new podcast. Highly, highly informational, educational on a variety of things. Every single podcast talks about decreasing inflammation of the body. Every single thing, okay? The next thing that almost every single podcast has the same common theme is that we need to protect and improve the health of our mitochondria.
Yes.
Mitochondria, right?
What to say about that, Kelly, not to interrupt you, but just to kind of reemphasize, Time Magazine came out with one of their main publications saying that mitochondrial dysfunction is the future of health. It's the future of prevention. And this is something that we are on the forefront in pioneering. So I just had to bring that up because I want to emphasize just how important mitochondrial dysfunction is in our body. So,
no, you are right, Jenny. And, truly this company, LifeVantage, when we talk about the leader of nutrigenomics, we're on the forefront of this. We are literally biohacking our bodies back in health. No one's doing this, and no one has these products. So you guys have to understand, you haven't heard about it because it's new. Okay. So that's why you're hearing about it here. And it is so special to know that we have things that everybody in medicine and Time Magazine and on the Today Show and the Megyn Kelly Show. And I mean, you start listening to news shows today, you guys, it's being talked about. So oxidative stress, ding, 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 super important. Mitochondrial dysfunction. So thank you, Jenny, for that introduction, because they're learning, there's devices out there that can try to upregulate or help the health of your mitochondria, but you have to go be attached to something.
Yes.
It's not like easy and convenient.
A ton of money, very, very expensive.
Very, very expensive. Correct. Like if, for instance, one of these physicians that, you know, I really resonate with, he is a functional neurologist. His name is Dr. Titus Chu. And he does a lot of this. He really specializes in concussion and dementia, Alzheimer's, traumatic brain injury. So he has a lot of those modalities. And he said it is literally the number one thing that's important in recovery from a traumatic brain injury or concussion, but increasing the health of the mitochondria.
Wow.
And there isn't anything like that. So this is what I tell people, like, this is what the Nrf2 activation does. So now we talked initially about Protandim, this Nrf2 activation. Try not to get confused. Now we're talking about Protandim Nrf1 activation. And that's what upregulates and improves the overall health of your mitochondria. And when Jenny says, like, they're talking about this may be the biggest prevention in the history of health, physicians are now speculating that cancer is much more an environmental factor. And by upregulating and improving the health of our mitochondria, they're speculating that we actually may be able to prevent people from having certain cancers in the future.
Wow.
So
I got the chill when you said that.
So big. I mean, it is so big. And this is what I want to ask you guys is, do you all know, right, we should exercise. It's good for us, right? We all know we're supposed to be eating right? We all know we should have decent sleep. We all know actually forms of rest or meditation, things like that in our lives actually are very beneficial to our brain health, okay? But my big question to everybody is, do you do those things on a regular daily basis?
It's so easy in the Western diet, in our environments, and the go, the technology, to forget about that. You know,
it is so hard.
It's hard enough to keep up with it.
So imagine if all you had to do is take a couple pills and immediately it decreased your inflammation, it improved the health of your mitochondria. That simple every day. It's like total cellular insurance. And I really, really want you guys to understand that when somebody has a concussion, and I will tell you, my mother-in-law several years ago had a major fall downstairs, had a concussion. I have 4 children, and 2 of my children have had concussions. One was in vision therapy for a year, and we didn't have this technology at our fingertips back then. So the time, the energy, like the time lost in school, the time running to appointments, the money it cost us to spend for these devices, the energy and the wear and tear emotionally, physically, psychologically that people go through after these events that they're trying to go through this recovery, it's just devastating all the way around. So people have got to take a stronger look at what they're doing for their health on a prevention. Because somebody can look at you and go, Jenny, you're beautiful. You look so healthy. Oh my gosh. But maybe Jenny wasn't taking any of these things. And our perception is just by the way somebody appears. Then they think they're healthy. Oh, you look like you don't need to lose weight. Oh, you look like you have energy. Then you're healthy. And that's not the case. So
well, when we're talking about stroke, heart attack, it's the deadly killer. You know, I think there's so many people. I know when my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer in February, she never got sick, never had health issues. This is what Kelly's trying to say about prevention and the importance of our products being, I think, like Washington State University says, Kelly, I mean, this is the biggest breakthrough that we know of and that we've seen. And that's why we're attracting people like Kelly, like some of the top cardiologists, preventative cardiologists in the world. And these people are seeing this science and this research, And normal people like myself, I get to sit in the company of Kellie that get to share this information. So you guys, this is not just something flippantly that you're on here to learn. This is information that everybody needs to hear, specifically everybody that's dealing with anything neurologically. Let's talk about stroke and TBI and Alzheimer's and all these things, Kellie. I mean, we're talking about prevention. Let's talk about why somebody wants to incorporate this now if they're dealing with these issues, or if they know of a loved one that is dealing with any sort of neurological issues, even kids in the spectrum disorder. Can you explain to them the absolute most important thing? I mean, people are like shown supplements left and right. They're seeing them everywhere. Why specifically will they want to choose what we're sharing right now, and why it's so important?
Absolutely. You know, from the very beginning, you guys, you have to understand that our bodies can only take in so much stuff and assimilate them. So I know everyone has been trying to take all these supplements, but if you look at all the current research that's out there, and that's what's hard, everyone's pulling stuff off shelves that's nothing's research, and people think if I just mega dose on it, then I've got to be better. But I just, interestingly enough, I was meeting with somebody sitting down outside at Starbucks, and another woman overheard our conversation, and she said, oh my gosh, I was meant to sit here because my doctor just wanted me to put our daughter that's going into 7th grade on a black box medication. And if you guys don't know, a black box medication means it has a side effect that it increases your risk of suicide. Do you want your kid on something like that? Do you want to be on something like that? So when she heard about the science behind this, she was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so sorry to be like eavesdropping, but my daughter needs this, right? So those of you in prevention, you might thinking, yeah, it sounds all great. Believe me, do not risk not taking this. Do not risk. But those of you that have a family member or a neighbor or a loved one of any sort that are going through any sort of brain injury issue, I talked about in the very beginning, right? A kid with ADD to somebody with a severe traumatic brain injury. You must, it is imperative to decrease that oxidative stress in their body so that their brain can actually do the job it's intended to. You must improve the health of the mitochondria because your mitochondria are what produces the energy of your entire body. So my patients that I see are very fatigued. It takes extra effort. They're exhausted. I need to like supercharge their mitochondria because their brain is working harder than ever. Their heart is working harder than ever. So they must need this. And then just to piggyback, Jenny, our last 2 products really, which is like our Vitality Stack, Total Cellular Health, is an omega. And if you guys don't understand the importance of an omega, you just need to know that 100%, if the cells in your body aren't protected, so if you have a house and your house isn't protected, like you have open walls that aren't finished, your house would be constantly like dust, debris, water, bombarded. Like you can't have that house. If you don't have cellular integrity around the outside wall of the cells can't do their job and function. So your omegas are going to improve the cellular integrity so that every cell in your body can do its job, and your brain and your heart have some of the biggest areas that need protection and of the cellular protection for your omega and your good DHA. And then last is a probiotic. Again, probiotics are common, but let me tell you what's uncommon about LifeVantage's product is, again, I started with that whole gut-brain connection, right? It is critical, but the majority of probiotics on the market, it's not Kellie's research or LifeVantage's research, it's the research out there collectively that 96% of the majority of probiotics get destroyed by the acids in our stomach long before they really get to the small and large intestine. So that good flora never gets anywhere. And that's why you see products with billions and billions of CFUs. But really, if the issue is the delivery system, not just that we need more, how can we improve the delivery system? And that's what LifeVantage did. They patented a coating called BioTrack. And with that coating, it allows your probiotic to pass through the acids of the stomach in a 10 to 12 hour period. And every layer slowly gets taken off. So each of those good bacteria get purposely delivered in every single spot it needs to. It goes in each perfect garage, which I absolutely love. And I tell you, anybody that I know that's been on it either that's had a gut issue is like, oh, this is like the best thing in the world.
It was the only thing that changed my issues, like literally within days.
And the other thing is, you guys, is our immune system lives in our gut. So I tell you, for me, since I've been on the probiotic, I have not even gotten sick, like remotely, you know, a day of not feeling good or something versus like 10 days down when everybody's sick over the holidays. So your immune system, your gut health is critical. So you guys, in learning and repairing, it takes tremendous amount of energy for the body to heal and repair. So if you know that, if you have an injury or illness going on, know that it takes more energy to heal and repair. So you must be giving your body the nutrients that it needs. And truly, like Jenny said, the Nrf1 and the Nrf2, this technology is patented that no one else has. And the reason why Jenny are on with you guys is because we need voices to share. People need to know. Technology hasn't gone so fast, it's blown by where current medicine is. And medicine knows that.
Yes.
So we need your voices to share this technology, because I could download my brain of the stories of my patients and the people I know, and you would think I'm kind of making it up, because people's results have been that dramatic. And I'm not saying everybody's bodies are different, but it's incredible.
And I don't want to, you know, I made the disclaimer when we started this, but of course, you know, everybody's wondering the question, you know, as a neuro PT that's been doing this for 20 years, that's seen people that are not walking after stroke, to traumatic brain injury, not functioning, to the autism spectrum disorder. Can you just give us some of without making medical claims, of course, what you've seen and really what's made you a believer and what has made you want to move forward with never stopping to share this incredible information? Can you just give us a bit of something something that we can just take home to our loved ones that I know so desperately want to hear this information?
Okay, so I'm gonna have you guys all do a little exercise with me. You got it? So for 30 seconds, I want you to shake your head like this, like for 30 seconds nonstop.
I'm not gonna do it because it's gonna make everybody dizzy.
Exactly, like already you guys are like, I'm gonna throw up. I can't do this, okay? So you can all stop. But imagine that's how you feel and you're trying to learn something new. So if you're a kid that's autistic in class, who's trying to function and pay attention, but his brain feels like that, or her brain feels like that, right? They can't learn, like it's almost impossible. So my patients, they're going through tremendous new learning. So I'm trying to, through neuroplasticity and what I do with patients, get their brains to rewire, but their learning is so disturbed because their brain is like foggy, on fire. They can't focus and concentrate. So imagine I can take that away. Now their brain function, what they can do. So whether it's increased attention, performance, motor signals, sensation, cognitive ability, it's been vast. And I see some people with cancer, and you know, without stating any person or any stories of, you know, people who were going to have to undergo treatment either for the first time or again. And by taking these products, their cancer has been able to halt, to not have to go back into treatment or therapy or surgery. So imagine how your life is affected if you could prevent yourself from having to have like a chemo or radiation, right? And everything is different. Every person is different. Every situation is different. You just need to know it is that powerful. And I know that for me, myself, my mom, my in-laws, my children, my dogs, right? We will never stop taking these products, because we're either going to have to pay for our health today or pay for our health in the future. So I'm making an investment in my whole entire family's health today so that we can prevent this in the future.
So one more thing, Kelly, because I know we've talked a lot of, you know, our Vitality Stack product. Let's talk Axio before we kind of move it into business. You know, what specifically does that have to do, and what is the significance of I like to call it our brain food? Just as kind of icing on the cake, I mean, you covered so much. We obviously know that our Vitality Stack is a non-negotiable and should be for everybody that we know and love. But will you just hit on that before we kind of end the product section of our, there you go. So what significance does that have within brain function. I mean, we talked about turning on the light switch, you know, taking away the issues where you can actually start teaching someone how to heal and get better. But what is the significance of Axio, and why would everybody want to be taking this?
Yes. So, you know, in a nutshell, let me tell you guys why this drink even came about. Would you guys all not agree that maybe mid-afternoon, sometimes you feel like, oh, I just feel like fatigue, lethargy, I can't quite focus anymore. You need to get something accomplished, but your brain is like going in 10 different directions. You've lost your focus or your, you know, motivation. And it could be late at night, you're working on a project. It could be early in the morning, any time of the day that you just feel like your brain's not functioning on all cylinders, right? It happens to all of us. Traditionally, people's route has been to reach for a pick-me-up. And a pick-me-up has been either sugar or caffeine. Pretty much that's been the golden standard. Whether you're going to Starbucks, whether you're getting your Monster, whether you're getting a Coca-Cola, something, right? But we all know that actually those up and downs, those crashes are almost the worst thing ever for us, because it puts us in more of a drop after we come off of those things. So the creator, the formulator was saying like, well, what is the brain craving? Why, right? What's the root cause? Why is the brain not functioning? So that's why it was formulated, this drink Axio, truly, like Jenny said, it is 100% brain food. It was specifically formulated to be able to cross the blood-brain barrier, access the brain's neurotransmission to basically reboot the system. It's like your computer starts to slow down, and sometimes you're like, oh, I just need to shut down and reboot. That's almost what it's doing for the brain, like shut down and reboot. Let me tell you one story. I have one patient who's a traumatic brain injury. He really had a stroke with multiple surgeries and ended up with the traumatic brain injury, and has ended up with behavior issues, cognitive issues, attention issues, pretty severe. And when he drinks Axio, I don't even have to ask him. It is night and day different. His behavior, his attention, his focus. It's like somebody turned on the light switch. It's like the lights weren't home and now they are. So it's phenomenal, all natural. It is truly something I would encourage all of you guys. I don't know what you drink in your household, but hopefully everything that you're drinking is all natural and giving your brain extra energy. This is truly superfood for the brain. So thanks for introducing that, Jenny.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I mean, I couldn't ask for a better explanation of what Kellie shared with us today regarding our products. I want to jump a little bit into the business before we wrap this up. I promised everybody we'd be very time efficient today, but Kellie, as a successful physical therapist, as somebody that has her own practice that gets to determine and, you know, and really determine where your time goes, why would somebody like you look at this business opportunity and really take it to the top of this company? I was just saying before we hopped on here that you and Arthur, this is your retirement plan. Why would anybody today want to incorporate something new like LifeVantage as a business opportunity? And why did you decide to move forward with that? And what's the significance of that in your life?
Thanks, Jenny. You know, I think all of us out there work hard. That's a given, no matter what. And most of us have all been conditioned that you're going to either work for somebody or maybe we're self-employed. It's all the same. We're all trading time for money. Well, as I really was, you know, looking into finance and everything, I really realized from the top financial people that if you don't create some sort of residual income in your life, I don't care what it is, but if you don't, you know, figure out a way to create some sort of residual income or royalty income, in our world today, we will work practically until we die. And that is a scary, scary thought. But I also know that we all, in the years of our children and our children growing up and our children getting married and them having kids, right, or us having aging parents, I want the ability to go see them and travel and, you know, all of these things. And if we all just stick to our traditional jobs, that won't cut it, right? The 2 weeks of vacation a year, the working 40 hours a week for 40 years, and it's not going to cut it. And so what I would ask each and every one of you guys is, you know, many top leaders say that in our lifetimes, you will come across two opportunities that may have the chance to change your future or your family's financial future forever. And if you're over the age of 40, that first one may have already passed you by. So It's hard to be a forward thinker. And if nobody knows about it, it's kind of like, ooh, I don't want to do that. That's weird. Nobody knows about that. Well, I know in my therapy practice, that's how we are in my therapy practice. The rest of the therapy community kind of goes, what are you guys doing? You're kind of weird. You're not in the insurance. You don't follow this. But that's how we've got results. And knowing that, I knew that if you see an opportunity that is amazing with science in a publicly traded company, and whether it's Time Magazine, whether it's 2020, whether it's Washington State University and Oregon State University and Harvard, the bells are out there telling you this is going to be big and really, really big. So my husband and I knew that we didn't want to rely on our income coming in from the clinic, or even if him and I got injured, right, and literally couldn't work, that'd be devastating. Is I saw this opportunity knowing that if I could share this and with a team of like-minded people truly build a network together and leverage, there is like nothing else out there. I mean, people say like this royalty income, leveraged income, it's the golden money. It's hard. We work hard at it. But once you make it, it is amazing to get paid. And there's no other avenue that we can get paid again and again and again for the work we do once. So I would encourage every one of you guys out there that whether it's LifeVantage or another vehicle, is that don't just rely on your current job or your one stream of income. You've got to be a smart consumer in our world today. There's many places out there to make money, but don't go back and trade more time for money. Figure out a way to leverage your time. And I just knew, I'm so passionate about health and wellness, that what a better vehicle for me to help people with their health around the world and prevention, and at the same time, leverage my income stream. So it's been a godsend to our family and our finances in our future to come.
Absolutely. And I want to piggyback off what you said earlier, Kelly, about being a part of something before everybody knows about it. I mean, it's timing in business, entrepreneurship. I knew when I saw this that it was something that everybody needed in their body and that I was the first to know about it. So if you're one of those people that always wished that you were sitting at the right place with the right time, I'm telling you, get with the person that brought you here tonight. We always tell people, get in where you fit in. If you've heard this information and it's something that you just want to take and incorporate to prevent issues in the body and get your family healthy, that's awesome. We love that. Join as a preferred customer. But if you've heard anything that Kelly has said regarding being first, understanding that there's only 2 opportunities in your lifetime and that this is one of them knocking at your door, get with a person and ask them about our options to get started. We have 3 different packs that allow you to get started. I always say, get in where you fit in. We're unattached to what you decide, and become a part of this movement where we're teaching people that there's hope for their health. There is more out there than just putting a Band-Aid over the issue, and that we, like-minded people like Kelly and myself, want to help people. We want to really empower people to understand that there's something else out there that's greater than them. So I hope that this webinar has been a blessing to you. I know, Kelly, you have completely blown my mind. Every time I get to spend time with you, it's so incredible. What last words would you like to leave us with before we hop off our webinar tonight?
You guys, I would just say life is crazy and busy. And the moment we leave this webinar, you're going to already be like, oh, my phone, my kids, I got to cook dinner. I'm going to go for my run. I mean, right? Our life is bombarded. So literally, you need to make the decision now. Call that person before you ever move from wherever you're sitting. Call that person and talk about options, because you can't wait. But life is hectic and we have a lot of distractions. So don't let life get in your way of this opportunity that could change your health, your family's health, or your family's financial future forever. So just don't wait.
Oh my gosh, Kelly, thank you so much. And as always, you're amazing. And guys, we're going to make this a weekly occurrence. Kelly and I have talked about, putting out information. There's so much we can cover to empower you guys to really go out there and make a difference. And so, Kelly, I want to thank you again. And we will convene next week. Get a hold of your leaders that invited you, or the person that invited you, and they'll be able to keep in touch. And thanks again, guys. We love you all.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thanks for joining. Bye, everyone.